So, in my experience, being an original is perhaps the worst thing that you could ever do for your career. I know that there is all of this push to be innovative, particularly in academic research. There's always this discussion to do new and interesting things. But I'm going to tell you this and it's a microcosm of the real world. That, what do I mean by that? Is that it reflects what the real world actually is, and it's sort of an example of what the real world is that being original often makes it very difficult for people to put you within a category. There is a relatively large body of literature right now that sort of suggests that there is, and it's called optimal distinctiveness or categorical penalty, depending on who you're looking at. But it's the same basic idea is that um, if you do not fit what the norms are and how people perceive you, and it's mostly based within sociology, some psychology type stuff, but business folks like to look at this because we study it. But if you don't fit within the norms of what the world expects of you, you will be completely disregarded. Like people just don't understand what you're about. They will often think that what you're doing. So, that if you're lucky, they'll think what you're doing is crazy, right? Like that means they actually pay attention to you. If they tell you that this is weird or it makes me uncomfortable, but most of the time, I would say 99% of the time, they completely disregard it because it doesn't fit within their norms. There's a classic experiment on attention that shows how we disregard things that we don't focus on. And I'm not gonna. You could look it up. It's a basketball experiment. But basically, if we don't focus on it, we just don't see it. And this is more of what you're going to expect if you're very original and you do original things. People are not going to know how to place you, or you go to things that are atypical. You go to schools, you do programs that are very atypical. You do like interdisciplinary studies, for example. It doesn't matter whether you do something that's rigorous and interesting. Nobody's going to care, and they're not going to pay attention to it. Right. That's the one strong lesson that I've learned is that you often have to if you really, really want to become successful from the outside, hang with me here. If you want to become very, very successful from the outside and everybody understand what you're about and give you accolades and all of that kind of stuff, continue to do what everybody else is doing. So go within what the norms actually are, right? And just pursue that thing. Like it's super easy now that I realize this. I think most of the business research is often wrong. The strategy research is often wrong because we only focus on the large competitors and we look at large companies and that is just fundamentally wrong. I want you to go and do this weekend to prove me wrong. Go and start up your own lawn mowing business or snow shoveling business. You will have a ton of competitors, but you will always find opportunities where somebody needs to get their lawn cut and you'll make decent amounts of money. And it will be totally fine to do that. You will survive and actually you can build an empire if you wanted to, if you knew how to do this, if you sort of knew how to manage things. So I think like if you want to do what everybody else is doing, copy and copy and copy, and you will become highly successful. And lots of people think that you have to be original. It's not true. I think you're going to be misplaced most of the time. You may. It's a very, very high risk strategy. So what's going to happen with this high risk strategy is most of the time nobody's going to care. But every once in a while, because it's a high risk strategy, it's going to be once in 1 million times. Somebody's going to become extraordinarily successful from this, like extraordinarily off the chart successful for being original. And then people will look at that and say, well, it's the reason why that they were successful was original. Well, that's the wrong answer to deduce from this. It really is that they were weird and strange and they didn't know what they were doing. And they really should have focused on copying what everybody else is doing. And it was just luck that allowed them to be highly successful. But we never see that. We can't interpret that. It's a very difficult thing to actually do, to look at. So if you really want to become successful, just copy what everybody else is doing and mimic them and do a really good job of that. Just do exactly what somebody else is doing. That's it. And maybe add one little tiny thing where you are maybe doing it a little bit more cleaner. You know, if you're shoveling the driveway, you're doing cleaner, or maybe you dress up in, in the same colored snowsuit, whatever it is, right? Like one little tiny thing and that's it. But you do the same thing what everybody else is doing. Now, here's the thing though, is that on the flip side, and this is where I'm going to come back to this, is that on the other side, you have to realize that you're going to lose your identity by doing that. You're going to become more what everybody else is doing, and that is totally fine. And I actually embrace that a lot. But you have to realize that some of your identity and how you understand the world is going to be lost. It's not to say that it's not going to be lost if you be original, because it's going to be very difficult to keep that identity, and you're going to be very disorganized. You're not going to know what to do. You're uncertain. Like all of these kind of things are going to pop up. But if you want to do good things and become highly successful, just copy what everybody else is doing. In the academic game, that happens all of the time. In academic research, the most successful people tend to just replicate what everybody else is doing and have a little flair to it. Uh, one of the things that was taught to me, and it's good. I'm not saying that none of this is bad. I'm not saying that there's value judgment. Is that you're supposed to write like basically 80 to 90% of what everybody else has written before, and then you just change it a little bit. Now, if you want to do original, interesting, quirky, bizarre research, expect that nobody's going to pay attention to you. And it's going to be a long, 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 hard slog where you're going to be discounted for decades. And then maybe at the end, people will get it. And that's the idea with almost all of what we actually have to realize when we do things that are original, is that it is such a high risk, challenging strategy. I just have a hard time recommending it for anybody at this moment. I would recommend for you to do what everybody else is doing and just keep pursuing those things, what everybody else is doing, one little day at a time. All right, take care and have a wonderful day.